Hello Year 2, how are you? And welcome to today's maths lesson. Now in today's lesson we are going to be using our knowledge of both volume and capacity to help us to compare different volumes and different capacities. Now can anybody remember what the two words volume and capacity mean? Yes, that's right. Capacity means how much liquid a container can hold. So if it's completely full, how much liquid can it hold before it starts to overflow? Whereas volume is how much liquid is in the container at that point in time. And we could describe this as empty, almost empty. We could describe it as half full. We could describe it as almost full, or we could even describe it as full. Okay, if it's completely full to the top, then the volume is full. Now, before we start comparing different volumes and different capacities, let's warm up our brains with our flashback as we always do. Okay, so here are your 3 questions for today. In the first question, you need to have a look at the shape, have a look at how many parts there are, and then have a look at how many parts are shaded in and work out what fraction of the shape is shaded in. Then in number 2, you need to complete the sequence. So we've got a sequence here where it is going up in quarters. So you've got 1 quarter, 2 quarters, 3 quarters, 1. How can you complete the sequence? Now it will help here to draw yourself some shapes and split them into quarters and colour them in one at a time to help you complete the sequence. Then in number 3, you need to add together 3, 5 and 7. Now there are 2 numbers that jump out at me here. If you can spot them, that will really help you to answer this question. Okay, so pause the video now and have a go at your flashback. Okay, Year 2, so let's go through these questions together. Well, number 1, what fraction of the shape is shaded? Now remember, in a fraction, the denominator, the number at the bottom, is the number of parts that there are in total. Now, how many parts are there in total here? Well, there are 3, aren't there? Now, if we have 3 parts, what are we talking about? Are we talking about quarters? Are we talking about halves? Or are we talking about thirds? Yes, that's right. We're talking about thirds if the denominator is 3. Okay, so now we know that the denominator is 3. We need to look at the numerator, which will be how many parts of this shape are shaded. Okay, and we can see that 1 part of this shape is shaded. So therefore, we can say that 1/3 is shaded. Okay, so the 1 is representing the number of parts shaded in, and the 3, the denominator, is representing how many parts there are in total. Okay, number 2, complete the sequence. Well, we've got a quarter, 2 quarters, 3 quarters, 1, and then we need to work out the next few in the sequence. So as I said, we can draw some shapes to help us. So I've drawn 2 squares and I've split them into quarters. Now, if I colour in one of these parts, I will have coloured in 1 quarter because there are 4 parts to this square and one of them is coloured in. So therefore, if I colour 2 in, that will be 2 quarters, which is the next fraction in our sequence. And again, if I colour in another one, what fraction will that be? Well, we have 4 parts with 3 of them shaded in. That will be the next fraction in the sequence, which is 3 quarters. Now, after 3 quarters, we have 1. Why do we have 1 after 3 quarters? Well, let's have a look. Let's shade in another quarter. Okay, so I've shaded in another quarter. And as you can see, the whole of the shape now is shaded in. So therefore, 4 quarters is the same as a whole. It's the same as 1. So that is why we've got 1 next in the sequence. Okay, so we've got our whole shape shaded in, but we need to continue the sequence. So now let's shade in another quarter in the next shape. Okay, so now we've got our whole, so our 1, and what have we got in the next shape? Well, we've got 4 parts with 1 shaded in, so that's 1 and 1 quarter. The 1 representing the shape completely shaded in, and the 1 quarter representing the shape with just 1 of the quarters shaded in. So the next number, well, if we shade in another part, we can see that we have our whole, which is 1, and then we have our 2 quarters in the next shape shaded in. So that would be 1 and 2/4. So well done if you got that one right. That's quite a tricky question, so well done. Okay, number 3, add together 3, 5 and 7. Now, did you manage to spot the two numbers? Well, my two numbers were 3 and 7. Now, why will this help us? Well, it will help us because this is one of our number bonds to 10. We know that 3 plus 7 or 7 plus 3 equals 10. So now all we need to do is add on the other number. So 10 plus 5 equals, yes, it equals 15. So there we go. 3 plus 5 plus 7 equals 15. So well done if you got those correct. So now we are going to move on to our learning for today. So we're going to be starting with volume. Now, before we start comparing volume, we need to refresh our memories on how we can describe volume. So we are going to do the first one together. What is the volume of the first glass? Well, we can see that there is no juice in this glass at all, is there? So therefore, how could we describe it? Well, we can't describe it as full because there's no juice in there at all. So if there's no juice in there at all, we can describe it as empty. Okay, so the volume of the first glass is empty. So please could you pause the video and have a go at describing the volume of the second glass and the third glass, please. Okay, yeah, too. So let's have a look. Well, the second glass. Well, we can see it's not empty because there's juice in there. Would you say that it was almost empty? Well, no, there's quite a bit of juice in there, isn't there? So it's not almost empty. What about half full? Could you say it was half full? Well, yes, you could, couldn't you? Because half of it is full of juice and half of it has no juice in it. So therefore, the second one is half full. Now, what about the third one? Well, we can see that the glass isn't completely full, is it? So we can't describe it as full. And it's not half full, it's more than half full, isn't it? If we compare it to the one before, we can see that it's more than half full. So therefore, it's not full and it's not half full. So therefore, we can describe it as almost or nearly full. Okay, you just have to put a little bit more in there so that it is full. So therefore, it is almost full. So well done if you've described the volumes correctly. So now let's move on to comparing volume. So here we have our 4 children. We have Dora, Ron, Eva and Whitney. Now, as we can see, Dora has a bottle of juice. Now, how could we describe Dora's bottle of juice, the volume? Well, you can see there's a little bit at the top that isn't full of juice. So therefore, I personally would describe this bottle as almost full. Okay, it's not quite completely full, it is almost full. Now, as you can see, Ron, Eva and Whitney are hiding their bottles. So we're going to now have a look at Ron's bottle and see if we can compare it to Dora's. Okay, so there we go. Ron has revealed his bottle of juice and now we're going to compare it to Dora's. Has Ron got more juice than Dora or has he got less juice than Dora? Well, I can see that Ron definitely has less juice than Dora. So therefore, Ron has less juice than Dora. And we can see, how would you describe the volume of Ron's juice? Well, we can see that half of it is full of juice and the other half isn't. So therefore, I would describe Ron's bottle as half full. Okay, so therefore, if it's half full, it's less than Dora's, whose bottle is almost full. Okay, so there's the first one. Now, I'm now going to reveal Eva's bottle. And what we're going to do is compare it to Ron's bottle of juice. Okay, so here is Eva's bottle of juice. Could you pause the video and come up with a sentence to compare Eva's bottle of juice with Ron's bottle of juice? Pause the video now and have a go. Okay, so let's have a look together. Well, we know that Ron's bottle of juice is half full. How could we describe Eva's bottle of juice? Well, it's not half full, is it? And it's not empty. There's a little bit of juice in there. So therefore, I would describe this as almost empty. So Ron's bottle is half full and Eva's bottle is almost empty. So therefore, has Eva got more or less juice than Ron? Well, Eva has less juice than Ron, because Eva's bottle is almost empty and Ron's bottle is half full. Okay, so well done if you've got that one. Let's look at the next one. Okay, so Whitney. Oh, okay, so Whitney has the same amount of juice as Dora's, doesn't she? Now, could you come up with a sentence to describe Whitney's bottle of juice and Eva's bottle of juice? Okay, so pause the video now and have a go. Okay, so let's have a look. Well, we know that Eva's bottle is almost empty, whereas Whitney's bottle, we can see, is almost full. There's just that little bit at the top that hasn't got any juice in it. So therefore, Eva's bottle is almost empty and Whitney's bottle is almost full. So has Whitney got more or less juice than Eva? Well, Whitney has got more juice than Eva, because Whitney's bottle is almost full and Eva's bottle is almost empty. So well done if you wrote the same sentence there. That's fantastic. Okay.